So this is now our split double crochet. Now a split double crochet means that our stitches will line up going straight up, and this is normally worked in the round, but I'm also going to show you how to do it in rows for the short rows at the back of the neck of the Catdigan. So here's our normal double crochet stitch. You can see that we've got the 2 strands here, which is where we normally go in. So we'd normally go into this part of our stitch, but for a split double crochet we are going into this part of our stitch. Now this can sometimes look like a little kind of half little loop like this with a stem, which is actually obviously the next part. Where we're going to go is into here. Now I have found that it's easier to use the hook this way to kind of pull and then push into where we need to go. So I'm going to do that here. I'm going to pull that slightly apart, pull that slightly apart and then work in, and we're working underneath 3 strands. So this is why it's different to how we've used our double crochets before. I'm going to finish this one off, so we pull through the same way as a double crochet and then do that, finish that with a double crochet. So it's the same, but can you see how it is pulling that stitch in a different way, and that when we pull the next stitch through that it'll do the same thing again. So here we go again. Here's our stitch, that's the top of our stitch, that's where we normally go into, but instead we're going to hook that slightly out the way, push it through, make sure we're going under 3 strands. So you can see there's that sort of back one and the 2 at the top. And we're going to yarn over and pull it through. Now you can see that even where I've done this quite loosely, I'm still having a little bit of effort, and the very first few rows that you do of this will be a bit tight, but you just have to try and relax your hand, so relax your tension a little, and as you get going with the stitch, the more you practice it, the better it gets, as with anything. So here's our next double crochet here. You can see our 2 upright V. We've got the V at the top of the stitch. That's the easy place to go. That's where we'd normally go, just in that hole, but we're going into here. Going to pull it apart slightly, stick our hook through, make sure we're going under 3 strands, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So here we go. I'm going to do this to the end of the row here, and then I'm going to show you how to do it into the A part of the stitch instead of the V. So we're going into a V part of the stitch, and when you're working your standing double crochets, generally working in the round, you will always be going into the V part of the stitch. Okay, so this first row can be a bit confusing, just figuring out exactly where you go. Be careful not to split your yarn. Very easy to split your yarn in this case. Oops, just in there, under 3, perfect, there. And then our last one, which is always going to be our hardest one, we can see we've got the 2 strands at the top there. This is kind of pulling out a little bit, but our V is actually this one down here. So we're going to go in there, under 3 strands, yarn over, pull through, and there. So that's our first row of split V's. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this, do a few chains, and show you how to continue when you're doing a row, in the round first, so that you can see a second row of stitches. So here we go. So we're doing our second row of stitches, and we're going exactly the same place as before, so we can see the top of our stitch here. This was a standing double crochet at the edge here, so we're going in, through, under 3, yarn over, pull through, and through 2. So here you can see that it starts to be even harder. Sometimes what you can see is this strand like this, coming up like this, particularly when you're working in 4-ply, and this bit seems to be like sitting right down, so it does get a little bit on the tight side. It'd be so tempting to go in there. Don't. We're actually trying to go in there. Just going to push that in, and this is why I change how I use my hook for a split double crochet. So I change it so that I'm going in with the hook. So we're going in like that. Pull it quite hard towards you, and you can see that it just opens up that space for you. So we're going in, yarn over, pull through, and through 2 loops. And then again, in, yarn over, pull through, and through 2 loops. Into that V, under 3 strands, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And so that's how we carry on doing our split double crochet. I thoroughly recommend you practicing this stitch before you start doing your actual garment or wherever you're going to be doing this, because it does take a little while. Just caught an extra strand there. It does take a little while to just get going with a little bit of a rhythm to it, and then you catch a strand and the rhythm goes. So as you can see, we've got one more here, and then I'll show you how this will look. There we go, 3. So when we're doing our standard rows, that's exactly how we will be doing it, and you can see that the stitches will line up on top of each other and start looking a bit like a knitted stitch. It's not a knitted stitch, it's a split double crochet, but you can see that it's resembling a knitted stitch. So here I'm going to show you how to work in rows in split double crochet. So we've just made our chain to turn. We don't go in this very first one, and now if we were doing an ordinary double crochet we'd go in there, but we're actually going to go into the A's, and I think they really stand out here, so that's really nice. We're going into the A instead of the V. So when we were working in rounds, we work into the front of the stitch, so we're working into this V just here at the bottom. But here we're looking at working into the A also at the bottom. Now we don't work into that one, there isn't an A there. So we're going to go in again. I'm going to use my hook this way instead of stabbing, because I find it easier to work in like that. And again, we're going to be under 3 strands. You've got the 2 at the top and that extra one there. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, through 2. So this is us working into the A stitch, not into the V, but into the A. So we're going into the next one there. And when we do this, we're going to be working short rows. So I'm going to stop a couple of stitches from the end of here so that you can see what I mean by short rows of split double crochets. So we're working into that A and working into the A. In the Catdigan pattern, you will leave 5 stitches unworked. So it kind of looks like 4, but it's 5. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the 5. So that would be the last stitch you'd work if you're working 5 less than the row before. I'm going to do a couple more just so that I can, because I've only got about 11 stitches here, so I won't have enough. If I do 5 and 5, there won't be any left to show you the rest. So I'm going to turn here with just 2 stitches left. I'm going to make a chain, turn, and then we're trying to find those A stitches again. You can see how they're sitting on top. So again, they resemble knitting. by the V's being in each other. So we're going in here. Can you see where we're going? That's the top. That's kind of the wrap part of it. That's the bottom A, and we're going into that A. And there's another sort of loop there. We're kind of going behind that. So can you see where we're going on the front there? Slightly moved. Okay, so we're going in there. And then we're going in here. And again, we're doing that whole hooky push. This is a bit fiddly, so yeah, try and make sure that you do them quite loose. It's very easy to get too tight with this stitch. So when I'm doing that second loop, make sure that that's nice and loose as you're doing it. So going into here and in and through and here, and again we're going to stop 2 stitches from the end. So we've got 2 stitches left. We've gone into that one. If we go into that one, we go into that one, and then we'll have 2 stitches at the top. You can see those 2 loops there. Then we're going to turn and do the same again. And you can see that it's not quite as neat as when you have rows of V's on top of each other, but for the purpose of doing it on our Catdigan, this is absolutely fine. And I'm just going to show you the difference of the stitches on the actual Catdigan. So here is the rib section. Here is the section of ordinary split double crochets. So you can see that we've got this kind of little V going on all the way up. Here's where we've got an increase, so you can see there's 2 stitches in there, in that one underneath there. So that's the increases going up. There's another increase there going up. So that's how it looks done in rounds. And at the back of the neck, it's done in rows. And you can see it does look slightly different to this part, but this is only when you're looking at it really close up, and when you look at it from a distance, there's very little to tell. Actually, you can see it much more under the video than you can when it's in real life. So that's split double crochet in rounds and in rows.